Paul has a screwdriver on his side table. Not in the drawer, not in the shed, on the side table. It has been there since February. He moves it slightly when he's hoovering. Not to put it away, just slightly, so the hoover can get past. Then it goes back. The reason the screwdriver is on the side table is that the kitchen shelf unit is at a slight angle. Has been since February. Paul spotted it. Paul got the screwdriver. Paul was absolutely ready to sort it, and then he remembered the match started in 22 minutes, and the shelf was not going to fall, and there is no meaningful difference, genuinely no meaningful difference between sorting a shelf on a Sunday afternoon and sorting it on, say, a Tuesday evening. So he put the screwdriver down. He sat back. He watched the match. He is not a lazy man. He knows this because he is the one who spotted the shelf was wonky in the first place. I've got 2 boys, and the honest reason I make these videos is that I keep thinking about things I wish I'd understood earlier. Not advice someone sat me down and delivered, just ordinary truths I had to figure out the slow way, or the expensive way, or the way that quietly costs you something before you've even noticed you're paying it. That's what this is. Me, trying to give them a version of those lessons before life gets round to teaching them the hard one. This particular lesson, I think, is one of the quiet ones, the sort you don't feel until you've been ignoring it for years. Right, Paul. Paul is 45, works in planning at a civil engineering firm, good at his job, steady, 2 kids in secondary school, wife he still genuinely likes, a house that needs some work he keeps meaning to get to. He'd describe himself as someone who works hard, and he's not wrong. He turns up, he stays late when it's needed, he sorts the things on his desk. The problem is not that Paul avoids work. The problem is that Paul avoids anything that is uncertain or effortful or uncomfortable in a way he hasn't already practiced. And he always has a reason, that's the thing. The reasons are always decent. He was going to go for a walk this morning, but it looked a bit grey when he checked. Not raining, just grey. There's a conversation with his teenager that has been sitting on the edge of things for 3 weeks. Almost happening, never quite happening. He is extremely well prepared to have it internally. He has rehearsed it at least 11 times. In the bath, on the drive in, once at a particularly slow set of traffic lights. The conversation, in his head, goes very well. In the kitchen, somehow, the moment never quite arrives. He'd like to go to the gym. He genuinely would. But he wants to do it correctly, and he has not yet watched enough videos to feel confident he will do it correctly. And the videos keep being about programs he is not yet ready to start. He describes himself as someone who doesn't like wasting time. This is technically accurate because all of his time is accounted for and none of it is officially wasted. Now, Jack. Jack is the same age, same general orbit of life, similar pressures, similar ordinary inconveniences, a job that fills the week, kids that fill the gaps. Paul has known him since their 20s. Jack is not impressive. He's not a fitness convert. He doesn't post about routines. He doesn't talk about discipline. He doesn't talk about it at all, actually. But he mows his lawn in the drizzle. Not because he loves mowing, because it needs doing and he was already outside. He goes inside afterwards and has a perfectly normal evening. He doesn't mention it. He does not feel he has earned anything specific for it. If you ask Jack whether he considers himself a consistent person, he'd pause, give you the mild expression of a man who has never previously considered the question. Not out of false modesty, just because he genuinely hasn't framed it that way. He just does small, hard things, slightly before he wants to stop. Not heroically, just before the comfortable option wins. Here is what I want you to notice. At work, Paul is asked to present something to a room he's not comfortable presenting to. And Paul, competent, experienced, genuinely capable Paul, volunteers a colleague. Better at this kind of thing, is the reasoning. More natural in front of people. Probably true. But here's what's also true. Paul hasn't presented to an unfamiliar room in 4 years. He's been busy. He's been in planning meetings, bilateral reviews, corridor conversations. He is useful, constantly, but only in the territory he already knows. Busy is not the same as capable. It is not laziness. That's the thing I want to be clear about, because I think a lot of men hear a version of this and dismiss it immediately because they don't feel lazy. Paul is not lazy. What Paul has done, slowly, without deciding to, is stop trusting himself with things he hasn't already practiced. He has quietly stopped putting himself in rooms where he might do it badly. And the longer you do that, the smaller the map gets. His wife mentions, not unkindly one evening, that he used to be more up for things. He takes it as a comment about getting older. She is watching their sons sort something out in the garden, and she says it almost to herself. He nods. He agrees. Getting older, yes. It is not a comment about getting older. Here's the brief version of what has been happening to Paul. Not as a moral failure, as a training problem. Every time you choose the comfortable option, you are teaching yourself something. You are teaching yourself that effort is the wrong direction, that uncertainty is to be avoided, that the hard thing, whatever it is probably not worth it. And the more you teach that, the more automatic the lesson becomes. Comfort didn't break him, it just made him smaller. His range contracts. The things he'll attempt get narrower. And because nothing dramatic happens, because Paul is genuinely fine, genuinely functional, genuinely occupied, nobody notices. He doesn't notice. He just gradually does fewer things that are uncertain and more things that are familiar. And the ratio shifts so slowly that there is no moment you can point to. Meanwhile, Jack books the physio. His knee has been off for 3 weeks. He has not looked up the symptoms online 14 times and decided to wait. He booked it. Paul has had the physio number in his phone since August. It's saved under physio with a question mark because he wasn't entirely sure of the spelling. The question mark is still there. Jack tries the thing on the menu he doesn't recognise. Paul orders what he had last time, which was good, which he knows is good, which is why he's having it again. Jack walks to the thing Paul drove to because the parking was, admittedly, slightly inconvenient but actually manageable. Jack arrives slightly out of breath and not bothered by this. Paul arrives first and waits. None of these is the difference on its own. Together, they are. Jack has never made a single big decision about who he wants to be. He has made 1,000 small ones. Every time he did the thing slightly before he wanted to stop, he taught himself something. He taught himself that effort is survivable, that uncertainty is temporary, that he is the sort of man who does the thing. Not because he is special, just because that is how he has been voting in ordinary moments for years. So, the advice. And I warn you, it is boring. If you are hoping I am about to suggest a dramatic 12-week overhaul, I'm going to disappoint you. Do the thing you're about to negotiate yourself out of before you start the negotiation. That's it. Not always, not heroically, just often enough that it stops being a deliberate choice and becomes your natural direction. Walk somewhere you were going to drive. Once a week, on purpose. Have the conversation you've rehearsed but not had. Eat properly, most of the time. Not as a program, just the boring version of not eating badly. Do something physical that is slightly harder than comfortable, in any form, regularly. And say yes to the thing you'd normally pass on because you're not entirely sure how well you'd do. Not a transformation, a recalibration. The bar is not impressive. That is the point. You are not just choosing whether to do a hard thing. You are voting on who you are. The man who picks up the screwdriver or the man who leaves it on the side table. And every vote counts, not dramatically, but arithmetically, over years. If my boys take one thing from this, I hope it's that. The man you want to be at 55 is being built right now, in ordinary Sunday evenings, by the small things you choose not to avoid. Nobody's watching, nobody's counting, but you are teaching yourself who you are, every single time. Paul is in the living room. Sunday evening again. The shelf is still at a slight angle. He looks at it for a moment, looks at the screwdriver on the side table, which has been there long enough that he genuinely doesn't see it anymore unless he tries. He picks it up. The match finished 3 days ago. He goes to the kitchen shelf, kneels down, tightens the bracket. It takes 4 minutes. Nobody notices. He puts the screwdriver in the drawer where it belongs. He doesn't feel transformed. He doesn't feel like a man who has turned a corner. He just sorted the shelf. The shelf was never the point. The point was the small interior decision that he was not going to wait until he felt like it, that there was no better time arriving, that the version of him who does the small, hard things without needing a reason is the version worth becoming. The video ends before Paul sits back down. We don't need to see what he does next.